Thank you very much, Adobe, for hosting this podcast. This is part one of a two-part podcast on emerging and innovative office technology. And today we're going to be discussing leveling up workforce productivity with an eye towards AI. With me is my esteemed colleague, Alex Gay from Adobe. Alex, could you give a brief introduction, please?
Hey, Jim, great to see you, and thanks very much for having me on. Yeah, my name is Alex Gay. I lead product marketing for our document cloud business within Adobe. I've been with Adobe for the past 7 years, working across our Creative Cloud and Document Cloud products. And I'm really excited to be here today because I think a lot of the work that we've been doing during my time at Adobe has been around how we can improve both employee and customer experiences through digital experiences. And I think this latest innovation is a real reinforcement of how we can deliver that for all of our customers.
Super excited to plumb into it. Just quickly, my name is Jim Rutt. I'm the CIO and CISO of the Dana Foundation. We're located in New York City. Let's get right into this discussion. So I've seen the highlights around AI assistant and some of the products with Adobe. I'm particularly interested in some of the some of the feature sets and also why Adobe invested in this area to support business productivity. I mean, the news around it is palpable. So I'm very excited to hear your takes on it.
No, absolutely. I think that if there's one thing that we can all understand and have empathy with it, having experiences at the moment, I think people are just suffering from a tremendous amount of information overload. Like, especially as the complexity of work increases, we've got hybrid work environments, we've got more complex engagements with our customers. The ability to get and discern the right insights from all the information that's coming to us is more challenging than ever before. And we recognize that. I mean, PDFs are the most prevalent file format that exists out there. We generate about 400 billion PDFs just out of Adobe products alone. There's trillions of PDFs out there in the space, but the ability to actually get the value from those PDFs can often be a challenge. I don't know if you're like I am, Jim, but like I've got a folder of all of the market research reports, landscape reports, competitor analysis, like documentation that I really want to get to at some point. I'm often time starved and I don't ever get to that. Folder is gathering digital dust for me, and I never really get to understand what's in there. And so we recognized that problem, and we understood that one of the applications of Gen AI could be about how we could accelerate that time to knowledge for people, so they could look at all of that information that was available to them, and be able to get to their insights that they need quickly, be able to have a conversation with that content to get to the most valuable output, but do that at speed. If there's a document that's 120 pages long, people shouldn't have to get through the first 30 before they realize that this wasn't for them. That's not a great use of people's time. So our focus was around how we can leverage this great power that's at our disposal and accelerate that time to knowledge for our users. And that's one of the key values that we brought with AI Assistant and Acrobat this past week.
I'm particularly impressed that you have one folder with all these PDFs.
It's a very large folder.
Yeah, if I could find even a sliver of the amount of PDFs that I have to cover, that would be no small feat.
I mean, it's incredible though. 40% of all applications that pass through Outlook are PDFs. So like it's there. It's hard for everyone. And we really hope this is going to make a difference.
This is wonderful news. Let's kind of expand the conversation here.
Yeah.
So there are a few enterprises out there that are addressing workplace productivity via Gen AI. You've seen all the different co-pilots, right? From GitHub, from Microsoft 365. So obviously this is something that is not only of interest, but it's rapidly expanding for a number of different reasons, not the least of which all leading towards increasing productivity in general, right? So in terms of enterprises consuming these types of tools, like, and obviously AI Assistant from Adobe is part of this, where are they seeing the biggest impact from this type of adoption that's both quantifiable and qualifiable?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We rolled out the AI Assistant internally at Adobe about 4 months prior to making it available to the public, because we really wanted to understand the breadth of the use cases that we had. So across our 28,000 employees, we made this capability available and saw some of the organic ways that those use cases started to come up, and then some of the ways which we introduced it to people and they were able to leverage it. And we saw tremendous efficiency gains from customers, whether it was on the sales side. Our sellers were saving between 5 and 6 hours on understanding and responding to RFP questions that were coming in by being able to discern that information quickly. They were additionally saving about 2 hours a week just on assessing RFI requirements before they were actually driving those responses. Our sellers were also driving, they were probably our biggest beneficiaries. They were saving about 3 hours a week on developing pitches. They were able to take customer interview notes that they had, use the AI assistant to really discern what are the key nuggets and use those to personalize the pitches that they had when they went back into the customers. And then on our investor relations side, they were looking at market landscape and competitive analysis, which would take them upwards of 5 hours a week to synthesize, to share out with their executives. And for them, that was something that they were able to do in a matter of minutes. So we saw this pervasive use of the assistant across sales, HR, marketing, and then functions like investor relations, which really showed tremendous uplifts in the productivity gains that people had.
I like how you ended up with investor relations, because that kind of led into my next question, because
Excellent.
investor relations implies some kind of risk management. Perfect for, I think, any kind of adoption of AI technology.
Yes.
It's somewhat of an unknown. So, one of the major questions, I'm a CISO. So, one of the things that is very important for me to understand and assess for adopting any new type of technology is what's the risks going to be. Now,
Yep.
fairly static types of technology, it's fairly easy to identify and quantify the risk. With AI, it's a little bit different, because I think the inputs and outputs are not necessarily sequential, for lack of a better term. And
Yep.
you have the ability of data, or the possibility, I should say, of data to go in areas and different outputs that you don't really foresee,
Right.
especially when you talk about modeling, right? So
Totally.
my question specifically would be like, what kind of risk would you expect for adopting these similar types of technology, right? AI system could be a good focus of this. And
Yep.
in the inverse, what risk does not adopting something like AI assistant pose to a typical enterprise?
Okay. So I think security and compliance have always been a critical foundation for everything that we've done in the document cloud side of the business. Like, we know that organizations' most valuable content lives within their PDF documents, whether it's their contracts, their supplier agreements, their IP. All of that is housed within PDF documents. So we take that responsibility incredibly seriously. And we've invested significantly on the application security. So that when you're deploying Acrobat out to your users, that is backed by the power of the Adobe brand. So you can have that confidence in the application security, the data security that's behind it. AI does bring a tremendous amount of challenges, and we've seen that with customers on, like, some of the major questions that people have to ask is, what happens to my data? Especially when you're starting to look at how LLMs get more robust. You've got to train them on content, and for an organization, I don't want my content to train an LLM. I want my content to live within my organization, and for it not to be leveraged or out there in the ether where I no longer have control. So there's a couple of elements that when we were bringing AI assistant into Acrobat that we felt really strongly about. First off, the LLMs that we use on the backend will never learn from the prompts that are provided or the content that lives within a document. So there's no training of an LLM model that happens with any of the data that lives within that document. The second part is about who has access to what content. When you're deploying AI capabilities across an organization and it's drawing from different sources, it's important to understand who has access to what data. Like, you don't want to be in a situation where your AI assistant is pulling information from documents that are shared at the executive suite, but being provided based on prompts at a level where that access shouldn't be given. So data governance is often a big challenge for organizations when deploying AI technology. The approach that we took with Acrobat is very much about what that user has access to there and then. You're running it on the document itself. So there's a built-in governance that happens where only if the user has access to a document could they use AI assistant against it anyway. It's not drawing from other documents, even within that person's device, but it's certainly not drawing from other documents across the organization as a whole. That makes the rollout of technology like this so much more simple, because you don't have to look at, do I have the right data governance and access control policies in place across my organization to protect my content? Moreover, you can just say, is the content that this user would likely use AI assistant on such that they would benefit from having that faster time to knowledge? So that's been the approach that we've taken on data security and compliance for AI assistant. The second part of your question was about the risk of not adopting some of these technologies. And I think that is an even more poignant one, because I think what we're seeing, even with the early adoption of AI assistant across Adobe, is through the time savings that people are able to unlock with that faster time to knowledge, especially in the context of work. Like this AI assistant is where the work is happening, so that they're able to accomplish their tasks much faster, which ultimately frees people up to do higher value work. Like the more time that you're spent on trying to digest information, the less time you're able to take on actioning the insights from that. So we really kind of see this as an opportunity where for employees, they're able to harness better insights to be able to make better decisions. They're also able to free up more time to drive some of their higher value effort. So for us, that's a huge gain that we've seen internally within our teams, whether that is a seller being able to reach out to more prospects, or for investor relations being able to go deeper within organizations because they can synthesize that content faster.
What's particularly interesting about this and exciting, as a matter of fact, is that this is only one piece of the Creative Cloud suite, right? Just Adobe Acrobat. As a long-time full suite Creative Cloud customer, I'm particularly interested in what you see as possible roadmap synergies for other areas of the suite, in terms of what the outputs of Acrobat could do to assist in other areas of the suite. That'd be very, very exciting too.
No, absolutely. I think we saw a tremendous uptick when we released Firefly for our Creative Cloud customers. And the application of generative AI across Photoshop, whether it was generative fill or other use cases within the Creative Cloud suite, have had amazing traction. And it's all about accelerating the work that our creative professionals are driving, so they can increase their output and they can focus on other things. When we look at how that can be coupled with the document cloud side of things, I think you have got overlap, but then you've also got some distinct use cases. We definitely see this is a missing piece for those document-centric workflows across contract supplier agreements, whether it's synthesizing market information or building out or being able to search through resumes at scale across HR departments. But there is an opportunity for us to then look at the creation side, and that's definitely the direction that we can see the benefit of bringing together that creative understanding that we have, as well as that document understanding that we have, to basically say, all right, now I've synthesized my insights and understanding. How do I reformat, reflow, recreate content in a really visually compelling way so it's impactful for my audience? So I think seeing those applications from starting with insights to then being able to create output is a path that you're really going to see us moving towards. And that's I think the exciting part of this being the first step on our journey, with understanding the comprehension use case. How do we make that exceptional, and then turn it into something that's even more powerful as we move into creation?
This is fantastic. So I'm an organization that's very hesitant to adopt any kind of innovations. I've known about generative AI. I mean, who hasn't for the past year and a half? You'd have to be living under a rock at this point. I'm finally feeling a lot more confident that we can start to bring this technology into our organization. What are the types of things we should do in preparation to get just a little more comfort level, a little more confidence?
Yeah,
what we're going to be doing is going to be successful.
No, we want organizations to have the utmost confidence that this is technology that's going to support their business without introducing additional risk. So I spoke a little bit about the importance of the ease of deployment within there. So from a data governance standpoint, there's no requirement on an organization to understand things like access controls or what their data governance policies are like. It's something that can be very simply rolled out to users. The way that we handle data should support customers in having that confidence that their data is not going to be used and leveraged by other parties. It's not going to make the LLMs in the back end any smarter. This is all going to be data that they still retain control of. The other thing that I'd really focus in on is, like we've talked about time to knowledge, but time to knowledge, there's an important factor within there. That knowledge has to be accurate and trusted. And a critical part of the feature set that we brought with AI Assistant was how you can make sure that the insights that we're providing are verifiable. So we stand behind the accuracy of the output that we have, but we also then make it verifiable. So you'll see attribution across all of the output that we have. So we never want to be in a position where someone is referencing the output that we had from the AI assistant, which doesn't relate to the source document. We know hallucinations are prevalent across a number of AI applications, generative AI in particular, and we think we found a way to solve for that through the layers and the filtering that we have before the AI assistant provides the output. So I think that is, again, a question that's great for organizations to ask and understand, and that we feel that AI Assistant can really support by having really trusted output based on the understanding we have of a document and the attribution that we have to be able to map back to those insights.
Super. I'm still wondering where the term hallucination came from. I mean, in my day, it used to be called wrong answer. But
it's fantastic, though. We actually, in a very early phase, we ran a test where it made up the name of our CFO when we were looking at an annual report. Like that, there was never a CFO by that name within Adobe in an incredibly early iteration. So it's real. It happens, and it can be really distracting. I mean, if you're spending the time and you're going to stand behind output that you've consumed from a document, you want to be able to say with the highest degree of confidence that this is accurate. And that's really been the charter that we've had and what we looked for as an MVP before we even brought the beta to market. And so we feel really great about what customers will experience as they're seeing some of the output from AI Assistant.
So I'm going to ask you to look ahead a few years, right? You already discussed some of the synergies that might be possible with other parts of the suite. And I think you cast the landscape very, very well. Is there a possibility, and this obviously is usually a topic of some contention depending on the breadth and depth of solution providers, that AI Assistant, along with Acrobat, could possibly displace another product? You made mention it could certainly give you economies of scale when you're talking about the sales operations process, or maybe even the finance and investor relations kind of operating environment. Could it displace some incumbent products in these areas?
I think that Gen AI holds, and AI more broadly, holds the potential to disrupt every industry. And I think that it's incumbent on everyone to understand, how can AI disrupt my business and my space? And we definitely see that with what we brought to market, where we know that people are in PDF documents all the time, but if there's a capacity to get that time to knowledge faster in another way, that could be quite disruptive to the way that people consume content overall. So by bringing these capabilities to market, we think we've strengthened the value proposition of maintaining PDF as a file format, but getting that richer value. And as we extend that out to different file formats, I think you'll see that richer value happen elsewhere. But I think every organization should be really considering whether AI can be a disruptive force on my business, because there's a lot of very smart people in the industry is moving at an incredible rate that presents a great opportunity for you to solve customer pain points in a way that you haven't been able to solve for before.
Quick follow-up. You mentioned something about the PDF file type in general.
Yeah.
Do you see this as a result of all this technology kind of mashed together, the PDF construct, as we've all known it for the past, 30 years, becomes abstracted, ephemeral in other formats? Is that a possibility?
So I think that people will always look at PDF as being a memorialization of content, whether it's a contract or a supplier agreement or IP. It tends to be the file format that content gets memorialized in. But the way we see the PDF isn't the final resting place. It's not a static piece of content. It really should be dynamic data that is leverageable. But in order for it to be dynamic and leverageable, you need to understand how to get that content from a PDF and make it usable. And that's where our history of PDF stands us above what others have been able to do with the PDFs in the market. Our understanding of document structure, in particular unstructured content like contracts, where you've got tables, paragraphs, headers, footers, imagery, it makes it really difficult to accurately extract that content and make it usable, especially through a Gen AI lens. That's why when we first started on this journey of Gen AI within Acrobat, that hallucination aspect became so prevalent because it didn't really know where from the document it was pulling from, and you weren't able to track back to the central source originally. But our knowledge of that document structure is what's really set AI Assistant apart from other pieces in the market. And it's why we think that we'll continue to be able to support customer needs on having that memorialization with a PDF document, but make it far more usable for people that are engaging with PDFs on a daily basis. But then this technology does extend. We know that people want to have this capability across all file formats, that we shouldn't be thinking just within the framework of the PDF. And so for us, it's about how do we make this feel like just a natural flow of work for people across whatever content they're engaging with, and make those insights leverageable. Right? So that's the path that we're going on. PDF is what we know, it's what we're known for. It's what we have a huge differentiation above everybody else around. But we can take that knowledge into other file formats much easier than it is to go from those file formats into the PDF.
This is very comforting to hear. It would be hard for me to break the PDF paradigm personally.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to do that. It has a very strong place in the business world, and we want to make that more leverageable versus replaceable.
So Alex, in wrapping up, I just have one last question about AI Assistant in general. How can folks find it? How do they enable it? How can they start using it?
Absolutely. So we have rolled out AI Assistant in beta across our Acrobat and Reader products. So if you have our anything within the Acrobat family, you'll start to see that AI Assistant button appearing in the top right of your screen. So please take it, test it, kick it around. For our larger enterprise customers, we are driving a private beta at the moment to understand, again, all of the things that we'll need to make this successful for enterprise customers, so that they can roll it out successfully across all their knowledge workers. But we're excited that it's in market today. We're excited to continue to get feedback from customers, evolve it over time, and get towards the GA in the coming months.
That's fantastic. I've already seen it in my copy of Adobe, and it looks great. Nice and easy to find. I mean, this has been a wonderful conversation. I think we've definitely plumbed all these different areas. Alex, I want to thank you once again. Very, very enlightening. And once again, this is the part one of a two-part conversation we're going to be having. Part two will be focused on a deeper vision of product as it relates to enterprises adopting emerging technology and the risks non-adoption posed for keeping pace with the industry, enriching employee experiences, and enhancing digital workflows. Once again, thanks again, Alex. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and we'll see you soon.
Jim, thank you so much for your time. It's great to be here.